This is another video in the First Read series where I read a poem by a poet I don't know or know very little about, just to read it for the sheer joy of it. I might get it wrong, I might not, I might come back and have a totally different impression of it once I read more of their work, but this is what I got into poetry for, is the original sheer joy. So today I'm looking at a poem from the Poetry Society of America. They do this feature where a poet talks about one poem of theirs. I don't know how they pick it, if the poet picks it or if the editors pick it. I haven't read anything about this poem, so I don't actually know what this poet says about her own work, but I'm just going to read it. I don't like to look at them beforehand. I just pick them off of a title or something like that and go with it, which is what I did for this. I just like the title, remembering in a foreign language. So Anni Liu, this one. I always look at the form of a poem before I get started, and this one is spread out all over the page. It looks a little bit like Field Poetics, but I think it's just spread on the page. Not a traditional poem. Free verse, open form as people call it. So I'm just going to start reading from there. Memory in a foreign language. It looks like it's lowercase mostly throughout. There's a couple of upper cases, but they look like they're for single letters. So lowercase. I don't know if that's done because of this is a memory, that's what the title suggests, or something else. Weekday afternoons, I walk from school to the English. So English is capitalized here. And I is capitalized. So we're keeping some of it. Weekday afternoons, I walk from school to the English class in the foreign language university. Foreign and language has been split up here. It seems to suggest that it is foreign to the person going to it. So not like we consider it like a modern languages or foreign languages, like a thing is separate. Language university. The air is the color of amber, or is it only this way in memory? So this sense in which this person is remembering this, is it colored amber like an old photo is, which has stained it like a film remastered. So the memory looks old. It's an old memory for this person. It feels stained, colored. And we don't know why it's stained. Is it just time, or is there something else staining it at this place? We know that this person is in a class in this foreign university as it is. Here I learn a language is the way someone you love looks when speaking it, and English is my mother. This is an interesting line. Here I learn a language is the way someone you love looks when speaking it, and English is my mother. So it's an odd thing. This person has gone to learn English, which would make it seem like English is not the person's mother specifically, or maybe this is the way this person's mother is speaking English, or maybe this person's mother spoke English. I'm not really sure at this point what that means, or the way this person speaking another language seems. Moving her face in a way she does not at home, which suggests that what I thought might be going on is true, that the mother spoke a different language but now is speaking English here. And it seems different. It makes you imagine that person and the situation you're in slightly differently. Moving her face in a way she does not at home, long pursed O's, wide smile that's almost a grimace. The way like a language forces you to speak with your mouth, the way you make sounds with it, especially when you're trying to exaggerate that in learning the language, where it's not natural. The lesson underway, and this is the lesson at home or the lesson in the school, we're not really sure, it could be either. Sounds with the letter L. I mimic the sounds, my voice swallowed by the class. So it's like the voice is literally swallowed because there's a big class, but also this sense of my personal voice is disappearing into this language that I'm learning, which is English. When we're practicing these sounds with the letter L, which might seem different depending on which language tradition you're in. Maybe you don't have that the same way. I stretch my mouth and feel the shape of what I don't yet understand. Chanting lacks. So this is a way in which you don't understand the language, but also how the language is going to change you, I think, make you be different. And that plays off this word lack in itself, like a lacking something. What happens? Lack, luck, lock. this repeating of these words that are similar, a similar kind of loss in a way, lack, look, loss, and what happens next. I don't remember yet. So don't remember yet what happens after repeating this. Like what happens after you've learned the language. What does that do to your original language, to your sense of who you were before you pick that up? What does that do to your sense of your home life when you're like you watch your mother do the language? And it's a memory in a foreign language. It's like the memory itself is in the other language. Really interesting. I mean, actually, I really like this one. I'm kind of fascinated by how people learn languages and how we express ourselves differently in different languages and what that means and how that changes our identity and all that. This is really I feel like a beginning poem in that vein. So I'd really be interested to seeing more of this poet's work to see if that vein is followed out some more. So very interesting. Anni Liu, Memory in a Foreign Language.